The ending of Season 1 felt like a turning point for every major character in the story. Nothing was simple anymore. Every choice suddenly carried consequences that could echo across generations. While many viewers focused on the immediate danger facing Henry and Julia, there was another layer hidden beneath the surface. The finale wasn't just about survival, it was about destiny. Henry and Julia found themselves trapped in a situation that seemed impossible to escape. Time itself had become their enemy. Every second felt dangerous. Every decision carried risk. Their attempt to use the stones represented more than just a desperate escape plan. It represented hope. It represented a chance to build a future together, despite everything standing against them. But the uncertainty surrounding their fate became one of the biggest talking points after the finale. Some fans immediately assumed the worst. Others believed there was still hope. The reason this debate became so intense is because the show intentionally avoided giving a completely clear answer. Instead of closing the door, the writers left it slightly open. That uncertainty is exactly what makes Season 2 so exciting. If Henry and Julia survived, their problems are far from over. Escaping danger doesn't mean escaping consequences. In fact, survival might lead them directly into even greater tragedy. History already tells us that Claire eventually loses her parents. That outcome has never changed. The real question is not whether tragedy arrives. The question is how it happens. And that is where the emotional weight of Season 2 could become much stronger than anything we've seen before. Imagine Henry finally believing he is won. Imagine Julia finally feeling safe after everything they endured. For a brief moment, they could experience the life they fought so hard to protect. They could raise their child. They could dream about the future. They could convince themselves that the worst is behind them. But viewers already know something they don't. We know that happiness cannot last forever. That knowledge creates a unique kind of tension. Every joyful moment becomes bittersweet. Every family scene carries hidden sadness. Every promise feels fragile, because history is already moving toward a heartbreaking destination. At the same time, other characters are facing their own battles. Simon remains one of the most fascinating figures in the story. From his perspective, he has lost everything. The woman he loved disappeared from his life. The truth remains hidden from him. His actions have often been driven by anger, confusion, and heartbreak. But what happens when someone finally tells him the truth? What happens when he learns that Julia wasn't stolen from him? What happens when he discovers that she made her own choice? That revelation could completely transform his character. Instead of becoming a straightforward villain, Simon could become one of the most tragic figures in the entire series. The pain of learning that someone you loved willingly chose another life can be far more devastating than any act of betrayal. Meanwhile, another storm is forming in Scotland. The Jacobite Rising is approaching. History is beginning to close in around Brian and Ellen. Their love story has already survived enormous challenges, but now they face something much bigger than personal enemies. They face war itself, and war changes people. Even before the first battle begins, the pressure starts building. Honor demands one thing, family demands another. Duty pulls Brian in one direction, while love pulls him in another. And just when it seems these characters might finally find stability, another danger begins to emerge from the shadows. A danger connected to revenge, a danger that refuses to be forgotten, a danger that could destroy everything they have built. Because Malcolm may be gone, but the consequences of his death are only beginning. One of the most important clues in the entire series may have appeared so quickly that many viewers never realized how significant it was. At first glance, the flashback scene seems simple. It feels like a touching moment designed to provide emotional context. But when fans started examining the timeline more carefully, something unexpected emerged. That detail may seem small, but it changes everything. The reason this matters is because Outlander lore tells us that Claire loses her parents when she is approximately 5 years old. If the timeline matches what viewers believe they saw in the flashback, then Henry and Julia must have survived for several years beyond the events of Season 1. Suddenly, the entire conversation changes. Instead of asking whether they survived the finale, fans start asking what happened during those missing years. Those years become the real mystery. Those years become the story. And that's where Season 2 could find its strongest emotional foundation. The flashback doesn't just suggest survival. It suggests a period of life together, a period of family, a period where Henry, Julia, and Claire may have actually experienced happiness before tragedy eventually arrived. That possibility adds incredible depth to everything. Hope can be more powerful than despair because it gives viewers something worth fighting for. It creates emotional investment. It allows audiences to dream alongside the characters before reality inevitably catches up with them. If Henry and Julia survive, then the time travel storyline becomes even more important. The damaged gemstones have already been established as a potential source of danger. The rules surrounding time travel remain unpredictable. Small mistakes can produce enormous consequences. Could Henry become separated from Julia? Could he be sent somewhere unexpected? Could the timeline itself be affected by events we haven't seen yet? The writers have carefully planted enough clues to keep these theories alive without confirming any of them. And that may be exactly what they intended. The best mysteries don't provide immediate answers. They provide pieces of a puzzle. They encourage viewers to connect the dots. They make audiences return to old scenes searching for details they missed. That's exactly what happened with the Claire flashback. A scene that initially seemed straightforward suddenly became one of the most discussed moments in the entire series. And if the writers truly placed that clue intentionally, then it may be preparing viewers for one of the biggest reveals in Season 2. A reveal that could connect multiple timelines. A reveal that could reshape everything we thought we knew. And a reveal that may place Henry closer to Outlander itself than anyone expected. Now let's talk about the theory that has been gaining attention among fans. This is not confirmed information. This is speculation based on clues that already exist within the story. What if Henry doesn't return directly home after using the stones? What if something goes wrong during the journey? The damaged gemstones are already a major warning sign. The series has repeatedly shown that time travel is dangerous and unpredictable. If those gemstones fail at the wrong moment, Henry could lose control over where he arrives. And that's where things become interesting. It's possible that Henry briefly ends up in a future timeline connected to adult Claire. Imagine the emotional impact of that scenario. Imagine Henry seeing evidence that his daughter survives. Imagine him hearing Claire's name without fully understanding who she becomes. Imagine him catching brief glimpses of a future he was never supposed to witness. He wouldn't know the entire story. He wouldn't understand every detail. But he might realize enough to keep fighting, enough to refuse surrender, enough to continue searching for Julia. This kind of storyline would accomplish several important goals at once. First, it would deepen the emotional connection between Blood of My Blood and Outlander. Second, it would expand the mythology surrounding time travel. Third, It would give Henry one of the most powerful character journeys in the entire franchise. There is also the possibility that Simon's future becomes far more tragic than fans expect. Many viewers assume Simon will become obsessed with revenge. But what if the opposite happens? What if learning the truth breaks him emotionally? Sometimes acceptance hurts more than anger. Sometimes understanding hurts more than uncertainty. If Simon discovers that Julia willingly chose Henry, he may finally stop chasing a fantasy that never existed. That realization could transform him completely. Rather than becoming a villain, he could become a protector. Rather than hunting Julia, he could protect her secret. That outcome feels emotionally richer and far more surprising. And then there is Fanny. Her connection to the gemstone storyline feels increasingly important. It's possible that the writers are setting up a future time traveler. Unlike Claire or Henry, Fanny may not understand the risks. That lack of understanding could make her incredibly dangerous. Or incredibly important. She could accidentally discover information hidden across different timelines. She could encounter characters separated by decades. She could become the bridge connecting multiple storylines together. And if that happens, the entire universe suddenly becomes much larger than viewers currently realize. As Season 2 approaches, all signs point toward a story that is bigger, darker, and more emotional. The Jacobite Rising may become the central force driving much of the conflict. History is moving forward whether the characters are ready or not. Brian faces a devastating choice: stay with Ellen and protect his family, or answer the call of duty. Neither option comes without sacrifice. If he stays behind, questions about honor will follow him. If he leaves, he risks losing precious time with the people he loves most. That internal conflict could become one of the strongest storylines of the season. At the same time, Ellen may be forced into a leadership role she never expected. The threats surrounding her family continue to grow. The Grants have every reason to seek revenge. Old grudges rarely disappear. They simply wait. And while Brian faces danger on the battlefield, Ellen may face danger much closer to home. That combination creates tension from every direction. Then we return to Henry and Julia. If they survived, their greatest challenges may still be ahead. History suggests tragedy awaits. The only mystery is how that tragedy unfolds. Will they spend years together before disaster strikes? Will Henry's connection to time travel create unexpected consequences? Will their family become caught between different timelines? The possibilities are endless, and that's exactly why Season 2 feels so exciting. Every storyline appears ready to collide. Every character stands at a crossroads. Every secret feels ready to surface. The biggest question of all may not be whether these characters survive. The biggest question may be whether they can hold on to the people they love before history tears them apart. Because if the clues are pointing in the right direction, the most heartbreaking chapter of Blood of My Blood may still be waiting ahead. One of the biggest questions surrounding Blood of My Blood is not simply what happens next. The real question is how all of these stories eventually connect to the world of Outlander in a much deeper way. Season 1 already proved that this series is far more than a simple romance. At first, many viewers believed the show would only focus on the love stories of Claire's parents and Jamie's parents. But as the season progressed, something much larger started taking shape. The writers repeatedly introduced clues involving time travel, gemstones, destiny, and events that seem connected across generations. That is why many fans believe Season 2 could finally reveal the hidden bridge connecting these timelines together. The strongest clue may actually be Henry himself. If Henry survives the events of Season 1, then his journey may become far more important than anyone expected. Throughout the season, he constantly found himself pulled toward events that felt larger than his own story. It almost seemed as if history itself was guiding him somewhere. And what if that feeling wasn't accidental? What if Henry's story was never meant to end with simply returning home? What if his journey through the stones is only the beginning? One possibility is that Henry begins experiencing strange memories after surviving the time travel event. Not memories from his own life, but flashes of events that have not happened yet. Small moments, faces he doesn't recognize, places he has never visited. At first, he might dismiss them as dreams, but eventually, those visions could become impossible to ignore. Maybe he sees a woman who looks strangely familiar. Maybe he hears the name Claire. Maybe he witnesses moments from a future that should be completely impossible for him to know. The emotional impact of this would be enormous. Imagine a father unknowingly witnessing pieces of his daughter's future life. Imagine seeing proof that she survives, proof that she grows up, proof that she matters, but never being able to tell her. That kind of storyline would perfectly fit the emotional themes that have always defined the Outlander universe. Because at its core, Outlander has never been only about time travel. It has always been about family, about sacrifice, about love surviving impossible odds. And Henry's story could become another example of exactly that. At the same time, there is another character whose future feels increasingly important. Fanny. The gemstone storyline surrounding Fanny feels far too significant to be random. Writers rarely introduce powerful objects without a reason, especially in a universe where gemstones are directly connected to time travel. That raises an interesting possibility. What if Fanny becomes one of the next major travelers? Unlike Claire, she would not have decades of knowledge. Unlike Henry, she would not understand the rules. That lack of experience could make her incredibly vulnerable. One wrong decision, one accidental touch, one unexpected journey, and suddenly, she could find herself trapped in a completely different era. If that happens, Fanny may discover secrets that nobody else knows. Secrets hidden between timelines. Secrets capable of changing everything. And perhaps most importantly, secrets connecting blood of my blood directly to future Outlander events. The writers have already demonstrated that they enjoy planting clues years before revealing their true purpose. That means some of the most important moments in Season 1 may not fully make sense until much later. A simple conversation, a passing glance, a forgotten object. Any of these details could suddenly become critical in Season 2. And that's what makes the future so exciting, because every answer seems to create even more questions. Every clue points toward a larger mystery, and every storyline appears to be moving toward a collision that could reshape everything we know about this universe. The biggest surprise of all may be that the connection to Outlander isn't just about characters. It may be about fate itself, a force quietly guiding these people toward moments they cannot yet understand, a force connecting generations across time, a force that has been influencing events from the very beginning. And if that's true, then Season 2 may finally reveal that nothing we have seen so far happened by accident. As exciting as all these theories are, there is one reality that fans cannot ignore. We already know this story ends in tragedy. That knowledge hangs over every scene, every smile, every happy moment, every promise. Because no matter how much viewers want Henry and Julia to find happiness, history tells us something terrible eventually happens. And honestly, That may be what makes Season 2 so emotional. Most stories create suspense by asking whether tragedy will happen. Blood of My Blood creates suspense by asking how tragedy will happen. Those are two very different questions. The audience already knows Claire grows up without her parents. The mystery is discovering what led to that heartbreaking outcome. And that mystery may become the emotional center of the entire season. Imagine Henry and Julia finally finding peace. Imagine them building a life together. Imagine watching Claire take her first steps, hearing her first words, watching her family grow stronger. The writers could spend an entire season